Okay, and welcome to another AI Journal podcast show. Today, we are going to be interviewing an amazing person from KPMG, and we're going to be looking at corporate citizenship in the world today. There's a great initiative that we're going to be discussing in which KPMG are doing, and I've got the perfect person to walk us through it today. I'd like to introduce you to Serena Brown, who is the Global Head of Corporate Citizenship at KPMG. And it's brilliant to have you with us. We're going to be discussing a lot of topics that the crowd and audience will be finding very exciting. But before we get into the topic today, Serena, could you give us a quick overview of who you are, what your role is, and how does the role of Global Head of Corporate Citizenship in KPMG's international role, what does that all do today?
Thank you very much indeed, Tom, for the opportunity. So the basic foundation is making sure that we do no harm by respecting human rights and reducing our environmental footprint. But ultimately, we've got to go far and beyond that by putting purpose at the heart of everything that we do and investing in communities to uplift those who are left behind, because ultimately businesses can't continue to succeed if societies around us are failing. So one of the key focus areas that we have is on education and economic empowerment of young people around the world. At the moment, youth unemployment is 3 times higher than for people over 25. And there are 270 million young people that are not in education, employment or training. So one of the many things that we are doing to try to rectify this is organizing a youth empowerment AI hackathon. So we're going to teach tertiary student teams fundamentals of data analytics and AI. We will give them curated data sets on youth skills and jobs and support them to come up with some data-driven insights on how we can economically empower disadvantaged students around the world.
I love it, Serena. It really hits home for me because I was saying before, and I always say whenever I'm on a show, whenever I'm talking to people, that my key thing is education, right? To make sure people are aware of what's happening. And the stats you just revealed there are awesome to understand, not awesome in the right way, but to understand that KPMG is really doing these initiatives that are going to make an impact and are going to have the right groundwork and the right steps to helping people, helping communities, helping businesses, which I just really, really love. So it's awesome to hear that. So maybe for our viewers today who wouldn't immediately place and understandably place AI and corporate citizenship together, 2 separate avenues, very cool that they're coming together. Can you fill in the gaps and share some of the factors then, Serena, on what led to this initiative being created with KPMG? Because I'm sold on it and I love it already. I'd love to know what that puzzle piece was to getting this initiative put together and off the ground, please.
Absolutely. So I must confess that 5 years ago, I also wouldn't have seen the link. But now AI is permeating so much of our society, the workplace, government, etc. You know, we live in homes where we have AI that's recommending different products for us to buy and songs for us to listen to and helping me preserve the battery on my EV car when it's running low and helping my son to learn by giving him hard questions, getting them right, etc. I think there's a much greater awareness and a need to upskill people with AI. And when we've researched what are the key skills that people need to improve employability, the first set of skills, unsurprisingly, is around data and technology. And the second set of skills are the essential skills like problem solving, creativity, teamwork, communication, etc. And these are skills that KPMG is fortunate to have in abundance. For example, we were rated a top AI global advisor. And so with that comes great responsibility to give back to society and use those skills for good. Yeah. And also from a citizenship perspective, we need to have diverse people that are working in AI to make sure that the algorithms are inclusive and produce outcomes that benefit all people.
Such an important part, and you made such a good point there, Serena, of making sure that we understand the kind of roadmaps of what we're doing and actually putting the right thinking behind it. And it's great that you've got those resources to actually back this initiative and prove what you're doing and find out more. So I love it. And I believe it's not just yourself involved in this initiative, is it? I've heard that there's Microsoft, UNESCO, and Enactus are also supporting this fantastic initiative. So I'd love to know what's each of those businesses' distinct role within this awesome program, and what role have they got in putting it together, getting it out, and getting it seen by the people?
Yeah, absolutely. And the challenges we face in the world can't be tackled successfully by any one organization. So we're delighted that we do have partners that are working with us. So Microsoft brings a huge amount of experience from running its Imagine Cup AI hackathons. Enactus is an expert in running social student competitions. And so all of the partner organizations are involved in the design and planning. UNESCO is the part of the United Nations that particularly focuses on education, brings a huge amount of expertise on skills and learning as well. Yeah. So the different roles, we have Enactus and Microsoft that are recruiting students to participate. We have UNESCO, Microsoft and KPMG that will be judging the competition entries. We have AI professionals from KPMG and Microsoft that will be volunteering as tutors throughout the period of the hackathon. And then KPMG will be taking the best idea and taking practical action on the ground through our impact plan, education, and economic empowerment commitment. And we'll also be offering all of the students the opportunity after the hackathon to have a KPMG career mentor to help them on that journey.
That is so awesome to hear, because what you were touching on there, Serena, I look at it from creating a ecosystem almost, and I use the word not lightly, and that is exactly what I'm hearing here: a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information, a library of information to not just say, okay, that's our initiative, this is a great plan, but actually execution, strategy, and having those partners involved that can break through. And I think it's critical for the audience to understand that, and maybe a lesson to them. And this is proving that, right? That you're so much better when you have more people involved in it and you're bringing different minds to the table with different strengths. So I love that as well. So if we look at how this is getting rolled out, what kind of impact, and maybe we've seen some already, and maybe we've got some hints of what this is going to what impact it's going to have, and what planned impacts do you expect this initiative to have then, Serena?
Yeah, so I think the biggest primary impact it can have is by getting the voices and innovative ideas of young people into our impact plan education strategy, which is targeting young people. Young people are full of energy and great ideas. And so we want to bring all of that into our strategy at scale around the world. And of course, the secondary important benefit is upskilling the students that are participating in the hackathon with new AI skills, and hopefully inspiring them about the huge array of interesting opportunities in different data analytics and AI careers.
Yeah, I love that. And then quickly, with what we see, I'd really love to know what your take on this is, Serena. With upskilling and bringing new people through the door, it's so important to us, and it's clear that it's very important to KPMG as well. What kind of ways do you see things like the hackathon helping these people and helping the people that come through to really give them that opportunity, Serena?
So it's about giving people the skills, but also we find that people learn much better through experiential learning opportunities. So the opportunity to apply new knowledge to real life challenges. And that's exactly what they will be doing in the hackathon. So it's developing the skills, helping them to get new networks as well, knowing career professionals at KPMG, Microsoft, and just opening up a new world of possibilities, we hope.
Yeah. That's awesome, because it's such an important part to make sure that people have those networks, that understanding and that immersion, right? Because anything that's done well, it's usually for immersing someone in something. So I love the fact that between all the different partners, including KPMG, you're putting that initiative together. So what do we reckon then will be the real substantive change? The stats can be quite bleak. What do you reckon will be you mentioned one or two there. Where do you reckon you'll really notice the changing statistics to make the companies think, wow, this is a real opportunity?
So this is also obviously one step in a big journey, and increasingly we do need to work with other businesses no organizations, governments, and not just on a bilateral basis, but as I say, bringing together different stakeholders in the ecosystem so that we can get more systemic change that is at scale and that endures. So fortunately, this also takes place within a wider global agenda. So we have 193 country governments and many businesses that have signed up to the Sustainable Development Goals, which commits them to, amongst other things, quality education and decent work for all by 2030. And we have been seeing a lot of progress, but obviously with the pandemic, we need to redouble that effort. But the other important aspect is focusing on the impact, as you say. So making sure that we're not just looking at the amount of hours that we volunteered, but that we are tracking the results. Do the students have the better skills? Are they then entering the workforce in a more productive way than they would have done otherwise?
I absolutely love that again, because it's showing, it's not just making it sound great, but it's also giving them tools and strategies to go away and take this a lot further and to actually understand it. So I think that's brilliant. So you touched on it there, Serena, and a great point. The skill shortage, we heard a lot about it. I've been at conferences. It's something that's increasingly coming about. Universities are understanding how can they help more people, and conversations we're having that people can find through the AI Journal. But with this, and specific to this initiative, we hear about the talent shortage and global discussions. How important is AI training and the development in AI for how do you see it, and how does maybe KPMG see it going forward?
It is so important. We hear about the war on talent all the time, and there's a huge shortage of AI professionals, but also with AI permeating through so much of our society and what we do, we need to also be making entire workforces more AI literate. So we need to both improve the education system so that young people are entering the workforce equipped with AI literacy and skills, but also looking at upskilling and reskilling those that are already in the workforce.
Yeah, very important as well to make sure. And I think it's key that someone was asking me, they were saying, what do you think the key thing is? And I was like, the companies that understand that it's part of upskilling and training. And we are in a very, well, say if no one else does, I think we're in a largely unknown world and we're growing into it very quickly. So to make sure that we have that responsibility to upskill people, Serena, I love that you've got the same approach, and it's the same kind of in the back of the head thinking of that we need to make sure they understand it. So development for skills such as AI, those skills needed now and by the future workforce, what do you reckon the difference is? Where do you reckon it comes to understanding communities and their ability to access certain training? Because I think it was, I'm sure it was Elon Musk. He said, the amount of knowledge and amount of information you can get off YouTube now to understand these topics is becoming increasingly every day. The amount of how you can understand these different topics. How do you see it as development for these skills that are needed now, today, to make impact, but also going forward into the next 5-10 years?
So what I was really impressed with at the beginning of the pandemic is many, many businesses made a huge amount of learning content available free for the first time. But then I quickly found that it was overwhelming for people to then know which was the content and how to access it. So it's great that there are now so many wonderful courses that organizations like Microsoft, LinkedIn are making available for free. But in fact, people, especially those who are most disadvantaged and left behind, need the support structure and to go with that. So they need to understand what are the career options that are available to them and what's the learning pathway to get there. And they need somebody who's going to be a mentor and a guide so that they can benefit from that curriculum and the transition to the world of work as well.
And I think that's so important, because making sure that you've got someone, I tell myself all the time, find someone who's exceptional in that area, and you're going to learn a lot quicker. You're going to have that knowledge and you're going to understand it. And I think it's so important, again, that the examples that you noticed and making it sure that you might have all this information available to you, but focus as well, right? To make sure you are focused on a certain topic and you're not just going left, right, center, throwing everything onto the wall and seeing what sticks, but also actionable focus. So I love that point as well, Serena. So if we were looking at this initiative and people that might be out there thinking, okay, great, but is this just a PR exercise? But I think we all know from the conversation we've had, this isn't a PR exercise. There's a lot of impact going into this. There's a lot of research behind it. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of awesome results that we're hopefully going to be speaking about in person next time, Serena. But what would you say to people that look at it and think this is just a PR exercise, and going forward, it's going to be something much more than that? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it is totally purpose-led, and the initiative is created and led by our corporate citizenship team within the context of our impact plan that we published last year, which brings together all of our commitments under the pillars of prosperity, people, planet, and governance. And it builds on a very long-standing commitment to our communities. It also requires a huge amount of effort. So I'm sure there would be much easier ways to get good PR than doing this.
I love that as well, because it just shuts that kind of idea down quite quickly. And there's, as you said, plenty of other avenues. So looking at this for our audience as well, there's people that tune in and listen to us from C-suite background right through to the startup background. How can businesses support and deliver their own initiatives? What do you reckon, Serena, or what would your advice be to SMEs and MNEs be doing to play their part in this kind of new world and this kind of initiative?
I think the most important thing is to get started, to commit, to set a vision, an ambitious vision of the change that you want to see as a result of the company's efforts, to mobilize your people to complement financial investment, and to partner with other organizations who have complementary experience, skills, and networks. And if people want to reach out to me on LinkedIn to share ideas on how to get started or how to scale, I'd be very open to that.
That's awesome. And that's exactly what I was going to come to for the next question and the final question, Serena, of where can people find out more about you? We put the website and we put the email down there to reach out to the team for any of the audience watching. But where can they come and find more about you, Serena, members of the team, and what you're doing around this initiative and other topics you mentioned, such as the impact report? Where can they find out more about you, please?
Sure. So our impact plan, kpmg.com, our impact plan is a good source of information on our commitments. kpmg.com citizenship, where you can find out more about our corporate citizenship work. We've posted about the hackathon on LinkedIn, and we'll continue to post more details and progress updates.
Amazing. And for anyone watching, as soon as we have the links, we'll put some links in the comments for you so you can get access to all these details. An awesome initiative that Serena's doing. And I just want to finish, Serena, by saying thank you for taking the time today, because this is a topic we don't usually come across, and it is very important, and it is a pushing area. And again, it's great to see it's a collaboration between KPMG, Microsoft, UNESCO, and Enactus. And it's got great people such as yourself, Serena, and other members of the team leading the charge on this. So I really appreciate you taking the time today to explain this to us and our audience, and very excited to see the results and the progress, which I'm sure will be amazing. But I just want to say again, thank you for joining us today, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
You're very welcome, and thank you also, Tom.